Good morning, everybody. This is Martin John, and I am here to present the Tao of the Day. If you are not familiar with what the Tao of the Day is, it is where we focus on looking at the Tao Te Ching as a guide to living a more reasonable life. What does living a more reasonable life really mean? Well, for myself, it means that we are not asking others in the world to do anything for us, to change for us, to do what we want them to do, but they live their lives fully as they wish, and we do as well, without having them to, like they're not doing anything to us. We're not doing anything to them. We're not victims of their lives. They're not victims of ours. Now, as soon as we say that, we start to get into the whole, well, what if they attack you? What if they hurt you? What if all of these things, right? Like, these come from a space of fear. And the simplest answer is, if everyone was able to live their lives, right, without demanding from another, then there would be none of that, right? That happens when we believe we are victims of the system, we are victims of each other, we are victims of all sorts of stuff. And so of course, we can't know that that's true completely, because we do live in fear, and we were trained to live in fear, as the Tao talks about. If you want to control the people, you have to make sure they have a fear of death. And although people do want to live and want to survive, it doesn't mean that they are afraid of dying. Those are two different things. Being afraid to die and wanting to live are not the same exact thing. And when you live and you say, I want to live, you do things in order to keep yourself alive. But when you live in the sense of, I don't want to die, well, you live very differently. And that's just, it's the same. We, in sports and things, I hear the idea, they're playing as if they don't want to lose, right? That's different than wanting to win. And you can tell there's a big difference in the way that they play. Now, when you play in, like American sports where there are no ties, right? Like, that phrase is probably not common, but in international soccer, we hear that a lot. We hear this idea that, like, oh, well, they play as if they don't want to lose, right? They want to get, because when you tie, you can get points, right? You can get, in the table, in the whole of all of the teams, you can get a point, rather than getting all 3 points for a win or no points for a loss, right? So you play as if you don't want to lose, and you just want to squeak by, and that's how a lot of people live their lives, and they live their lives as if they don't want to die, when really it's like you want to live. And if you live as if you want to live, well, then you live your life. You live, of course, death is part of it, and you want to live, but it is going to end. And so that's a different mindset to take. And it's important to be able to, live your life and not live in fear of others, not live under the influence of others. And so much of what I talk about when I talk about living under the influence, and so much of what the Tao talks about, talking about, inspiring people to be masters, not leaders, not not guides, not people, not coaches, right? The Tao doesn't tell you, like, go help people. No, take care of yourself. Other people will get taken care of through that. And that's one of the most important things, is that we're here doing what's good for us. And we're going to bring Lois up. Hello, dear.
Hey, Marjan, how you doing?
You on your walk?
You know it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
supposed to be
haven't.
it's supposed to be 114 again today. So,
Oh,
hell yeah,
Jesus.
86 is as low as it's gonna get. So I had
Oh,
to get
man.
out here.
I'm outside of Chicago, as you know, but it's nice, and like these mornings are like, it's like just high 60s, and and it just gets warmer, but like it's a nice morning for, taking a stroll.
Yeah, I can understand that. Is this nice too? Hi, good morning. This is nice for taking a stroll too, Martin.
Yeah, no, I got you. I got you. I'm
I mean,
just,
'cause you can go sleeveless. You want to wear shorts, you can wear shorts. You want to wear long. It's like, to me, it's like perfect weather.
yeah,
Because it's not humid, it's not completely dry, and it's beautiful. Ain't no clouds in the sky. I mean, it's like perfect weather to me.
that's beautiful.
You
Yeah,
know.
no, I love it. I love it. Love it all.
And
Whatever,
I got it.
however.
I'm still trying to get used to that cold stuff though. I'm just, because this is the kind of weather I grew up with in California. Now
Oh
California
yeah,
gets
yeah,
cold to me, okay, because they
yeah.
have too
Oh.
much humidity, and they got
Mm-hmm.
mosquitoes now. When I was a kid, the only time we saw mosquitoes is we went to the lake or we went up into the mountains. But now,
Really?
oh yeah, there wasn't no mosquitoes when I was growing up, and not at least not in the regular areas. Well, I lived in not I didn't live in the suburbs, but I didn't live in a direct city either. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
you know what I mean. We had nice little houses and all this other kind of stuff, so it, it wasn't that bad. But the weather was like this most of the year. You
Wow.
know, and so anyway,
I do
ah,
like, I like the idea. Like, I like the idea that, like most of the year, like you only need one set of clothes. You know what I mean? But it's
yeah,
always the same.
and that's it, and that's it. Now it because I'm here. You need a set of clothes that you can layer and unlayer.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I wear mostly these exercise clothes type and stretchy stuff because I can put on more than one layer and still don't look like the albino snowman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because that's how I was in Missouri. Okay, and now, quite frankly, it was misery because I
Yeah.
had never. I mean, honestly, I had seen snow one time in my life when I moved to Missouri. When I was in my 40s.
Oh,
and and that shit was like, I liked it at first. I said, "Oh my God, it's so beautiful, nature." And then I touched it, and I'm like, "Shit, this is cold." And wait, and it's wet.
yeah,
Okay, because see, the snow I went to in California and in Colorado, that's dry.
yeah.
Okay, as far as slush is concerned, so
Mm.
Lois ain't with the snow like that, but I I love the way it looks. I watch the kids play in
Yeah,
it.
just and the longer the snow sits on the ground, the more gross it'll get. So it's like,
Yes.
first snow, that's beautiful usually. Like there are different kinds of snow. You got wet snow and you got the dry, big fluffy flake snow and you got, all sorts of different kinds of snow. But usually when it hits the ground that first morning, it's glistening and it's beautiful
Mm-hmm.
and then, the next day all the people have walked in and it's starting to turn to ice. It's starting to get colder. Everything is just settling in and it's settling into itself because of the weight. And then it starts to turn into slush where the cars were driving. And it's a mess.
Or black ice, where
Oh, yeah. You can't even see that. Yeah.
that's what made me not like the cold. I'm not gonna lie, because I thought about it. I'm like, I didn't mind it before until the first year I was there. I slid out and cars spun around and pushed me in a ditch. That
Oh,
scared the hell out of me because nobody told me to turn in the direction of the slide. So of course I'm trying
oh,
not.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then
There's knowledge about driving in snow, man. Like you gotta,
yeah,
yeah.
and
That's not something
nobody
that you
gave me
know.
that knowledge. So nobody
Yeah.
gave me that knowledge. So that's
Mm-mm.
what happened the first year. I learned that knowledge, but it didn't work, didn't make no damn difference the
No,
next
no,
year.
no, no.
Cause that car went spinning in circles and circles, and now what I loved about it, it was spinning in slow motion. So all the cars backed up and stayed away and let my car. But
Yeah.
I was inside going fucking crazy
Oh yeah.
because I had no control of that vehicle, and my kids was in the car. That's when I told my boss. I said, "Look, next year when they get ready to snow, I'm saving all my vacation, all my sick time,
Yeah.
and I'm calling out."
That's
And
right.
they laughed at me, Martin John.
I
The
know it.
next year, which was my last year there, because I was there 3 years, I told the snow started. The little flurries, I had no problem with that. And then
No.
they predicted this big snowstorm, and I went in and put in my vacation for
Mm-hmm.
for 4 weeks. And he's
Nice.
like, "You can't do this. No, 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 you can't do that. We need you here. We need you here. You can't do this." And I was like, "Why can't I have all the time? I didn't take off no time on no holidays."
That's right.
Because I was working at a prison. I said I was here. I said even got locked down up in here because there was a riot going on. I said,
Mm.
"No, I want my time." They actually held a staff meeting the first day I was on vacation, and they said, "We got to get Lois back here. We need volunteers to bring her to work every day when it's snowing." And they all volunteered, and I and I only took 2 weeks, and they
Ah,
took me to work the rest of the winter. Okay, but that was like not cool. Okay,
yeah,
and
no, snow
that's what
is,
made me. That honestly, that's what made me, because I had to get to the bottom of it. That's what made
yeah.
me just dislike the snow and all that stuff, because you can't see black ice. And
No, no.
especially when, and both times it happened at nighttime, or when it was just getting nighttime, like 8 o'clock p.m. or
Yeah, well,
something like that.
that's when the weather drops, and that's when black ice forms. So, like, if the sun is out, you're not gonna, because it'll heat things up enough. But that's the problem. It heats things up, and then it spreads, and this tiny hard thin layer of ice that just makes everything fucking horrible.
And I wasn't driving fast, just driving
No, no,
regular,
no. Ain't got to. Ain't got to.
and just stopped
It's a
at the light. Wait, stopped at the light, okay? And then the car started sliding. What the
yeah,
hell kind of voodoo hoodoo shit is that?
yeah.
Like, yeah, so it's so that kind of stuff scared me. Anyway, give me number 69 because I'm passing this house and it's 269.
69.
Yes.
Okay. All right, 69. The invitation to conflict. An invitation to conflict. In conflict, the master will never host aggression. She would much prefer to be the guest and relinquish space rather than claim it. This allows the host space to exhaust themselves without the master having to weaponize anything. Wanting to control through aggression is foolish. This underestimates conflict and its results. When you choose to conflict with another, you look down on them and lose your three lessons. By creating an enemy, you become an enemy. When two forces oppose each other, the one who relinquishes prevails.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Because Martin John, I don't argue with nobody. You
I
know
know
that?
it. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
at all, because to me, it's a waste of time
It's
and
true.
energy. And energy.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a waste of my time because I'm right. Okay? And they right.
That's right.
Because they
That's
they
right.
right because they have a belief system. They have BS, okay, which is a
Yep.
belief system. I'm gonna call it belief system now. BS is belief system for Louis. They have BS, and I got BS.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can't change my BS by raising your voice and arguing with my BS and trying to get me to shift my BS.
That's
You
right.
can't do that with my belief system because
That's
my
right.
belief system is mine. It comes from my heritage. It comes from my DNA. It comes from where I was raised, how I was raised, how I live my life, how I make my money, all that kind of stuff. That's in my belief system. And you
Mm.
can't change that shit by arguing
No.
with somebody, okay?
Mm-mm.
And I can't change theirs. And so for me, it's like I listen to the point of view, and if we can't find common ground, because we all laying our bullshit on the table, our belief systems on the table when we're doing this,
Yep.
And if we can't seem to come to a common ground with the BS, either we got to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater, or
Mm,
we got to decide we're going to agree to disagree, you know, and
yeah.
then live your life with your belief system. And if they see your belief system in action, as if why when you put it on the table and they put theirs on the table and you see that, then you can decide after you've seen them live this, does that really work? And is it worth taking a closer look at? So to me,
Hmm.
that's what argument's about. And it's about to show me different perspectives. And I get a better view of my own belief system when I see all the other different belief systems.
Yeah. I really, like, and there is that mention here. You look down on them and lose your three lessons. And that's from
Yeah,
67. The three lessons being compassion, moderation, and humility. Those are the three lessons mentioned in verse 67, which is just two before this. And so we start thinking about humility. Are we being humble in the face of this person's belief system?
right.
Are we being moderate in what we expect of the world and what we expect of others? And are we being
Yeah.
moderate in what we expect of ourselves?
And we're
Like,
allowing people to be who they are and
right.
not try to shift their shit, their belief
Hmm.
system to suit what we desire, we need. That's why I said it's BS.
That's right.
We put our
Absolutely.
BS on the table and we got to sort that shit out. But in that BS, there are diamonds. So you can't throw it all out, really.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
there's diamonds, and if we might find out that your belief system and my belief system together make a better belief system. How
Yeah.
about that shit? So for me, that one is really, really good because I've been dealing with a lot of people with a lot of different belief systems that don't want to argue, and I'm not
Of
arguing with
course.
nobody
Yeah.
because one, I love them too much. I want them to be who they are. That's
Yeah.
exactly where they are, and they're where they are for their spiritual growth. I can't make nobody be like me. Okay, and I wouldn't want no fucking body to be like me because they would have to go through all the hell I've been through.
Hmm.
Okay, that part. Oh,
Yeah.
Lois, I want to be like you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Back
Whoa,
that
whoa, whoa.
shit
You
up.
don't know what.
You don't know what you're asking if you say you
That's
want to be
right.
like me.
Yeah.
Now,
You
if
know
you
what you
want
got to go through to be like me?
yeah, okay, to have the different types of strengths and rebounding, because in order to have good rebound, I had to do a lot of practice. I mean, I had to do a whole lot of failing and falling
Yeah.
and getting hurt and everything else. And it's kind of like, you don't want to go through that. How about being the best you can be? And for me, arguing and conflicting with somebody uh, takes that privilege that they have to be who they are away from them.
Yeah.
And I ain't about interfering with nobody's shit because
That's right.
I don't want nobody interfering with mine. Guess what? You know what I'm
That's right.
saying? And if I'm so dogmatic and I want you to do it like I do it the way shit, I'd be so unhappy.
That's
Oh
right.
my God, because I can't control no motherfucking body. I can barely
No.
control my goddamn self. I'm being real,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
Oh, Lois,
So,
thank you so much. That's so
all right,
beautiful.
you're welcome. Okay,
I'm gonna look at another little thing in here, and then we're gonna look at Julie, and she's got a friend that we're gonna talk to, I think. So,
okay,
um,
cool.
what I really like about this verse is in conflict, the master will never host aggression. And I look at Lois's story about the black ice and about the snow. She was angry about the snow and she didn't like it. But she didn't want to host that aggression with the snow and the ice and all that. And so she just took off for 2 weeks. In conflict, the master will never host aggression. She would much prefer to be the guest and relinquish space rather than claim it. So she didn't have to claim the space of Missouri for the first 2 weeks of the snow, and then she'd come back and she'd have a different take on it. And that's conflict, right? There's conflict between the snow and her. And she was able to not host that aggression. And so she relinquished. And at the end here, when it says, when two forces oppose each other, the one who relinquishes prevails. And she relinquished. Like the snow wasn't forcing itself upon Lois and her experience. So there was aggression, and there was, and I don't want to say she was angry at the snow, but she was like, I ain't dealing with this, right? Like, and so she relinquished and she prevailed, and she was able to rebuild the relationship. And so when we talk about conflict, what are the conflicts that we experience in our lives? There's also conflict with ourselves. And there's different parts of ourselves that unfold day to day as well. And those parts um, need to have attention put on them as well.
Hello,
Julie,
my
how are
pretty
you?
bird. I'm good. I'm all right. I'm just sitting, relaxing for a minute in a day that's just unfolding all by itself.
Yes, it is. It doesn't, like it's great when we just let the day unfold and we don't have to put our stamp on it. We don't have to do anything, like. And I forget that often too, because when you don't do something, you start thinking, "Am I doing enough?" And it's like, Now we start getting into that space of questioning ourselves, and that's conflict, right? As we were talking with number 69, we start creating conflict, and we're hosting that aggression because that aggression
Mm.
doesn't exist without us hosting it.
Um, I just wanted to say something because, I mentioned my friend Penny. She is in her own place and has downloaded wisdom.
Hmm.
She's lost the talk. So if she just goes to listen again, then it should come up, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Yeah, she's there. She's there. So she's listening in her own space, and I
Oh,
wanted
okay,
to kind of
wonderful.
introduce Tao of the Day to her for her own, just for her own experience of it, really. And because Lois picked 69, I'm going to just pick number 70 because I find that when they build on each other.
They do.
The
They do.
verses build on each other. So I'm really interested in, 69. So if you could read 69 again and then go to 70, is that okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
So 69 is entitled An Invitation to Conflict. In conflict, the master will never host aggression. She would much prefer to be a guest and relinquish space rather than claim it. This allows the host space to exhaust themselves without the master having to weaponize anything. Wanting to
Yeah.
control through aggression is foolish. This underestimates conflict and its results. When you choose to conflict with another, you look down on them and you
Mm.
lose your 3 lessons. By creating an enemy, you become an enemy. When 2 forces oppose each other, the one who relinquishes prevails. Number 70 is entitled These Teachings. These teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves. Meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring. In the
Mm.
manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
can you see the connection between these two?
Um, well, yeah, because you've already the 69. There's a lesson there that allows you to just allow things to be. I interpret that in a way which sounds terrible, I know, but it's for me. It's give things the rope to hang themselves. I
Absolutely.
don't need to do anything. That's that lesson,
Yeah.
and in that lesson, by allowing that, you are giving compassion. You are not investing. You're not investing in yourself. In the situation or the person. You're not being the enemy. By doing so, you're just allowing. And then, it's brilliant, that number 70, because, like I've just said to you, I have just said to my friend, come on to Wisdom, have a look around and give what you can to it, because she's a wonderful person,
Yeah.
and she's got so much there that she can share, which is
Hmm.
all about what we do. It's all about what we do. It's being, in this experience that we're in, but understanding that we things are just the now, really, and everything that ever was, is, and will be. But we don't need to concern ourselves with any of that. We're just here now, and
Right.
and being able to observe that, So the words might mean nothing to some, but that's their path.
So I want to kind of shine a little bit of a light
Yeah,
between
please
69
do.
and 70.
Yeah.
Just like you said, 69 talks about this idea of conflict, and you're going to let things be as they are. So if you are, so let's look at some conflicts that might come up, right? Like, there's a conflict of global warming.
Mm.
There's a conflict of racism. There's conflict of gender identity. There's a conflict of all sorts of things. And if you choose to not conflict, as it says here in number 70, meanwhile, they will be labeled as coarse and uncaring.
Mm.
In the
Apathy.
manifestation, they are seen as dull and disinterested, yet in their heart shines a light for all things.
Mm.
It's so clear to me that these 2 points are made here, where it's like when you allow, when you don't engage emotionally and conflict with the external world, the external world will label you as coarse and uncaring, and will label you as rude, maybe, or when, especially in the world today, when in the 70s we came up with that phrase, if you're not with us, you're against us, kind of thing,
Mm.
right? And so it's like you either have to be, or you need to be angry. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. And it's like all of these things kind of come out of these 2 verses, right? If you
Mm.
need to
It's
be
like
angry,
apathy.
right?
Apathy now is a dirty word.
Well, and we're not being apathetic by not
That's right.
conflicting, but
Yep.
people will label us as apathetic because we
Yes.
don't conflict.
Yeah.
And so there's a, like there's a there's this interesting connection between these 2, right? And when this verse starts, these teachings are simple and transform lives, yet mere intellect cannot grasp them. And when we conflict, what are we conflicting often with? Intellect or logic, or this is the right way to do things.
Yeah.
These teachings are older than life and benefit all things, yet people prefer the manifestation. What is the manifestation? What I can prove. What is it that I
Yeah.
can prove? What I can logically understand.
Yeah.
Very few people will ever truly understand what is written herein, but for those few, these pages will guide them to themselves, not
Mm.
to the manifestation, not to something external from who you are, which all conflict, because you are connected to all things. So if you're in conflict with something, then that's something that you are in conflict with within yourself.
Yeah. Also, it's something you're connected with,
Yeah.
which is just sounds absolutely crazy, doesn't it? But the way that I read that in how I live my life is, if something is causing me to find interest, then I am investing.
Right.
Even feelings, all physicality of my body, that's me investing physically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's worth looking at uh, when you let things be, how they are, because in my in my thoughts, in my actions, in my kind of intuition tells me that things are supposed to be this way. You
Right.
know, who am I to say that we're not supposed to, be guiding everybody in a particular situation or thought, because that's a process that
Right.
is, and
Mm-hmm.
it's, which then would make me look like I'm apathetic,
Mm-hmm.
but not. I'm not
Right.
apathetic. Yeah.
And that's, and that's where this one. Meanwhile, you were
Mm,
labeled as coarse and uncaring. You don't want to
mm,
guide me. You don't want to help me. You don't want to do this for me. You don't want to do. But it's like I'm doing the only thing I can do for you, and that's be me.
yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Martin John, you're
And
amazing. Thank you so much as well.
absolutely. And thank you for introducing Penny to Tao of the Day. I mean, I I
Absolute
I
pleasure.
I saw her on my list. I followed her. We'll see if she comes up. And again, I don't listen all that often, but when I see people and I have the time, I always jump on. So
Thank you so much. I'm glad, because I've been actually thinking I haven't spoken to you for a while. And when I was kind of discussing, we went on a lovely walk to the beach yesterday, me and
yeah.
Penny, and we took our cameras and we were so comfortable. We could just walk off in any direction, take any picture of anything we wanted. And the conversation was beautifully flowing with nice gaps in between.
Mm,
Nothing of any, no chitter chatter,
yeah.
just
We're not
being with
filling
it.
space. We're
Yeah,
being here.
I
Yeah.
was just being with the essence that
Yeah.
is Penny. And it was wonderful. And
Oh.
anyway, the conversation came up about wisdom. And I said, just go and have a look, because I don't want to be selfish and keep Penny all to myself. I'd love to, actually. But I thought, no, we were talking about this connection to others, because that's really a brilliant thing. It's wonderfully rewarding to be connected and see, other people's ideas, feelings, and, their gut instinct and all of that. It's all there on, to be shared. And she's got some wonderful things that, we've had conversations about, which I thought would be great here. So
Mm.
that's why. And number one on my list was you. And the other one who's on my list was Cecilia,
Oh
because
yeah.
she's just wonderful. And that's
Yeah.
all I've got to say.
Oh
But
well,
yeah,
thank you so much. It's always
many of us are.
just to know that I'm always quietly being admired or loved and whatever
Yes,
is all so it just gives me strength,
yes.
and I
And
appreciate it.
that's great. I love you. I'll
Love
speak
you
to you
too.
soon.
Yes,
Take
we
care, darling.
bye bye.
Bye.
So I always really like this, looking at two together. I always like connecting the end to the beginning, and that's always an interesting aspect, right? Like, I tried when I wrote this version of the Tao. I tried to make sure that it flowed, so we didn't have to always look at the end compared with the beginning and see how we got there. Um, because when that happens, it's oftentimes that somewhere in the middle we lose focus, and so I always kind of looked at it as being like, oh well, maybe it's not written in a flowing way. Thank you so much, Penny, for following, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you at some point. If you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to select, definitely step up, and I would love to chat. But 69, this idea of an invitation to conflict, right? You're always being given an invitation to conflict. I tell people all the time, look, you can be aggrieved by pretty near anything. Anything can aggrieve you. You can be aggrieved by the weather. I mean, let's look at Lois with the black ice and stuff, right? Like, that could be, like, that could happen, and she could host aggression against the snow and stuff. But what she decided to do was take a vacation so that she didn't have to go through that. She didn't have to be in in a conflicting nature with nature. But when we get an invitation to conflict, then we're always being invited to conflict. And once again, you can use anything to be aggrieved. Once you get that invitation, you're creating separation between you and a thing. And you are investing your energy and your emotions and your life into something external from yourself. And that's where this number 70 that Julie chose really starts to shine when we look at 69, because that invitation to conflict is happening around us all the time. And as soon as you do, and I love what 69 says about conflicting. It's like when you choose to conflict, you are underestimating. And let me see if I can find it. You don't weaponize anything. Wanting to control is foolish. It underestimates conflict and its results. Right? Wanting control through aggression of any kind underestimates conflict and its results. There is another verse in here that says conflict creates an other. And no matter what happens, when you resolve the conflict, animosity remains. And that is what's happening when we underestimate conflict. Once we start to formulate aggression against something, there remains animosity. And I don't want you to think that that animosity only remains with another person, because trust me, if you conflict with snow and black ice and all of those things, or rain or anything, animosity is going to remain on the part of the snow. And you will have to, like, field its response over time. You will have to, because you created aggression between you and it. And that's why this one is saying, like, you're not engaging. Penny, how are you? Penny,
Well, hi. Really nice to meet you.
nice to meet you as well.
I'm really good, thank you. In a very good place. Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad.
Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of me on the phone, so that's my cat.
Oh, your cat is gorgeous. And what is your cat's name?
Thank you. He's called Tally, short for Talisian, which was
Talisia.
a Celtic medieval bard. Mm,
Oh,
yeah.
beautiful. Gorgeous color.
He's a Bengal.
Yeah.
Mm.
Beautiful
He's
story.
19 now, so he's doing very well.
Oh, well, I'm very well. Good on him.
So I have a number for you.
Please.
So listening to Julie, I had the number 12 coming up quite strongly. So I thought I'd give you a call and see what it is.
Okay. Well, it seems like there is a little bit of a um, time delay between you and I, so I'm going to go ahead and read this. And when I'm done, I'm just going to say I'm done and pause and see if you have any thoughts. So, what we do here normally, since this may be your first time hearing this, is I'm going to read through the whole verse, and then I'm going to let you sort of let me know what you think. And then we can go through it line by line and see if there's anything that we can pull out of it from there. Sound good?
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. Number 12 is entitled The Senses. Colors blind the eyes of men. Sounds deafen the ears of men. Flavors dull the tongues of men. Thoughts will lead a mind to turmoil. Desires and greed will lead a life to turmoil. Therefore, the master satisfies her inner vision, allowing external cravings to come and go. Thoughts?
Sorry, I'm too busy laughing. It's so much of what Julie and I were talking about yesterday. And listening to different answers on wisdom today, were the things that I picked up were along these lines of when you become a master, you become aware of every emotion, every thought,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't give it attention. You register it, but you don't give it attention.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions that are disturbing, you just allow to pass, or you can get to the stage where you can actually transmute them to something like joy or peace. Similarly with thoughts, um, quite often fear and anxiety in this day and age are very common. And being able to move beyond those emotions and those thoughts to a place of silence, that inner
Yeah.
silence. And from that place, you can then respond wisely, since we're on wisdom. So yes, we had a lot of chat about this, Julie and I, about getting beyond the senses, the physical senses,
Yeah.
um, to a place that is, uh, well, for me, I call it a different level of consciousness. So for me, it's an inner consciousness that is beyond all the physical senses. And once you've reached that place and you can come from that place consistently, then you can come from a place of wisdom. So yeah, that's kind of what I get from it immediately. I'll pass
Yeah.
back to you what your thoughts on that are.
Well, like I absolutely agree, right? When we get stuck in the senses, and I like these first five lines, I suppose. Colors blind the eyes of men, sounds deafen the ears of men, flavors dull the taste tongues of men. Just starting with those three. Um, I always look at they're not ever being enough, right? These are what we can consider like hungry ghosts. When you see beautiful things, you want to see more beautiful things. And every time you see another beautiful thing, you're creating another ugly thing. And you keep going out and you start to blind yourself to all of the beauty of the mundane, all of the beauty that is within you, or all of the beauty. If you live if you live in a deciduous area where you get fall and all these things, you almost don't even notice it. But then you get people that travel to Michigan and places like that, here in the States at least, to see the leaves change color. And it's like, yeah. Well, I see it every year. Like colors blind the eyes of men. Sounds deafen the ears of men, like music. It's like you can hear all of this beautiful music, but then you go outside and there's music in the street with the cars and the people and you can hear that just as noise, and you can mislabel that because it's not been conducted for you. We start thinking about all of this world that has been conducted for you, composed for you. And then you move into these next two lines, which is thoughts lead the mind to turmoil. Desires and greed will lead the life to turmoil. Those are coming after we have blind eyes, deaf ears, and dull tongues. Our thoughts of wanting more lead the mind to turmoil rather than accepting what's here. Desires and
Yeah,
greed will lead a life to turmoil. And why do you have desires? Because you have blind eyes, deaf ears, and a dull tongue.
yeah. I think there is so many different levels to the senses.
Mm-hmm.
You have those external senses, like you were talking about. You can love beauty in the physical world and you can go chasing it. I mean, I'm a very keen photographer. Again,
Yeah.
Julie and I were talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
And you have photographers who chase beauty all over the world,
Yeah.
sites, to get that fantastic photograph. And yet I can walk out into my back garden
Mm.
and find beauty in the simplest of things immediately in my surroundings. because I'm looking for beauty on a completely different level,
Absolutely.
not the obvious sight, and also not what other people are chasing.
Right.
There's
It's
a
not
lot of,
conspicuous.
yeah, you've seen the fall in wherever, Wisconsin, or, oh, I must go and see it too.
Right.
But there is other forms of beauty, and you have to look for it, and a lot of it is just lifting your physical outer senses to a whole different level. I
Mm-hmm.
remember reading a little article about, I'm sure other people have read it. It's quite famous. Something to do with a master and a student, and they were looking at sparrows in the courtyard. And I think the master said to the student something like, "Well, what do you see?" And of course, the student goes, "Oh, it's just sparrows." And the master made him sit there and watch the sparrows. And slowly he came to see each individual character and then the complexity of their behavior together. And then
Mm-hmm.
he lifted his consciousness to understanding their connection with the rest of the world. And then eventually the connection with himself.
Yes.
And it's like raising your levels of awareness, raising your senses to a whole different understanding and meaning.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that 12 is lovely because, as you say, it leads you through the outer obvious senses, of sight and sound and taste, and then leads you into the senses of emotion and thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be really interesting to know what the next verse is, because it may be what comes after thought and emotion. What is it that is what do you find after you've left behind chasing the immediate senses, and what do you find after you've finished listening to the emotions and the thoughts?
Well, I'd be happy to read 13 to you, but we're not going to cover it.
Let's
I'll just read it though, but you
yeah,
can
let's
sit.
see.
Okay. So 13 is finding equality at the extremes. To succeed and to fail are equally undesirable. Creation and destruction are equally present within us. What do I mean by to succeed and to fail are equally undesirable? The more success you have, the more you protect it by hiding failure. The more you associate with failure, the more you embody it. When neither success nor failure is identified as the destination, being becomes the objective. What do I mean by creation and destruction are equally present within us? Having a body and a mind with which I identify gets me involved in the manifestation. The manifestation convinces me of my actions, and so naming them, I both create and destroy, neither of which are unique. To see yourself with indifference, you will have faith in all things. To see the world with indifference, you will be able to care for it all. Thoughts?
Letting it percolate. There's a certain sense of when you leave, as in 12, when you get beyond the senses, thoughts, and emotions, you get into a state of being. That last line in 13, you get to a sense of being where you are just connected, rather than trying to see what's there, hear what's there, get the emotions and the thoughts involved in what you're seeing. You get to a space where you can just be and feel the connectedness with it all, in a state of being. My immediate thought.
Yeah. And in connecting this with the senses, so much of this is about defining what it is we're living. Defining like success and failure. And success and failure are like upping the ante for your senses. It's like, oh, I succeeded at this. Oh, this isn't fun for me, right? I gotta go find that perfect photograph. I got to go
Mm.
do these things. I got to do more. And then we find out that creation and destruction are equally present within us. Every time we create something, something is being destroyed along the way because we're defining something. We're putting it into a box. And we're saying, this is what creativity is. This is what beauty is. And the Tao also talks about as soon as you create beauty, you have created ugliness as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lovely lead from one into the other in the sense, like you said, where once you've actually tried to capture something successfully, as you say, like the photographer, each photo they actually capture and is a success, it's then a failure because they're looking for the next success, the
Right.
next thing. And
Yes.
you're
And it's
caught up
never
in this,
enough.
this never enough, never enough, never enough, until you get to the point where you can step back from it and not be, forgotten the word you used, but associated with it, and
Right.
just be with it. And I think that's what I capture. Thank you, because it's really made me think about what I do with my photography. Because I've recently started a website and things called the Yoga of Photography, which is literally about just going out, being in a state of presence.
Okay. Penny, you just dropped off because there is a time limit and it kicked you off. But if you'd like to come back up and finish that, I'd love to continue hearing about the yoga of photography. If not, quite all right. We will connect again at some other point. I know that sometimes if you get kicked off or anything, I'm always open for people to kind of finish their thoughts and whatnot. But so we were looking at we looked at 4 verses today, number 69 and 70, and then number 12 and 13. As we look at, I'm gonna head back to 12 really quick. And what I'm really grateful for is that number 12 resonated with Penny. It was her first time on Tao of the Day, and the Tao always speaks truth to what we're dealing with in the moment, and there is something there, and that's because it's been written and it's been part of the background of humanity for so long. We know what we're looking for, and we know deep in ourselves that there is guidance here. So I'm going to read number 12 again. Colors blind the eyes of men, sounds deafen the ears of men, flavors dull the tongues of men. Thoughts will lead a mind to turmoil. Desires and greed will lead a life to turmoil. Therefore, the master satisfies her inner vision, allowing external cravings to come and go. You don't have to be guided by what it is you want, right? Those external cravings to get the right photograph. And I like this, the idea that Penny brought up, the yoga of photography. Because what is yoga? Yoga is living as you are. It's not about moving, right? Here in the States, maybe you hear yoga and you're like, okay, well, I'm going to bend or I'm going to stretch and I'm going to do these things, but that's not what yoga is. A yogic practice such as doing poses can get you to a place of being, so that you can breathe, focus on your breathing, so you're not focused on the pain of or the stretching or whatever. But it's not about the stretching. It's about the being still with what is and accepting it as it is, right? The Brahman, the Tao. Thank you guys so much. Okay, Penny is back. We're going to chat a little bit. I'm going to maybe hear a little bit more about the yoga of photography.
Yeah, I wasn't going to rejoin, but you mentioned yoga, my favourite subject. So yes, you're quite right. Yoga is getting beyond the senses, beyond the emotions, beyond the mind, into, I call it, a different level of consciousness. It's a level of consciousness where you are totally interconnected and it's beyond time. So when I do yoga or photography, a lot of people say to me, "Oh, that's mindfulness," but that's a different subject for a different day. But I will go out into the garden in a state of yoga, And rather than looking at a butterfly and saying, oh, what wonderful colors, oh, how pretty, let's take a photograph of this wonderful color, I will actually sense it. There was a wonderful book written, and sorry, this is telling my age, way back in the 60s, called Strange in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein.
Yeah.
And he used a verb to grok, Grok, and it meant to be totally absorbed in the other person or that other thing, so that you understand as you understand yourself completely and fully. And that's what I do when I see more than the colours. I see how it's related to the world. I see its flow of energy with the energy of the room. That's what I'm trying to capture in an image, which is really difficult.
Oh
But
yeah.
what I try and do, yeah, I just try and get a quality of that, so that
Mm-hmm.
somebody who looks at my photograph afterwards will get some sense of that quality. And that's what I do with the yoga photography.
Well, I think that's beautiful, and I like the idea of like, even taking it to that place of like, okay, you see a butterfly, but when you're in a sense of connection to yoga, Tao, Brahman, however we want to look at it, it is no longer a butterfly. It is me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it isn't, and there isn't a separation, and there isn't a definition for what it is. It just is, and we don't have to define it. We don't have to define it having been, because maybe it didn't exist until this moment, because maybe I haven't even existed before this moment. And so to
Oh,
just experience this as this moment is pure, because that connects all things.
oh, you get into a whole different level of subject there with existing in the moment and the flow of time, and yeah, another
Well,
conversation.
yeah, and I do think that like that's yogi, right? Like that's the being of that moment of taking that photo of being there without defining the thing you're taking a picture of, because you're also like in it. You're also you're self, you're being you're being
You're actually
you.
you're actually taking a photo of part of yourself.
Right. So it's like it's all, and when you recognize that, when you get to look at yourself, and you get to, and when you take a photo and say, no, that's ugly, what we're doing is we're saying I'm ugly, and that's okay. But what we want to do is recognize the places within us that we're judging, whether we're judging them as beautiful or ugly, because both of them are incorrect.
Absolutely. And I must leave you at that, I'm afraid, but it's been
Absolutely.
wonderful talking to you. So thank you so very much.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you
I'll be
for
back, I'm
joining me.
sure. All right. You take care now. Bye.
You as well. Bye bye. Oh, Penny, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me. And yes, I'm very, very intrigued in talking with you again. And I appreciate you and Julie and Lois coming up and chatting. All right. Well, this is Martin. Oh, Julie is coming back up.
Hello.
Julie.
I
Hello.
just wanted to explain something
Oh.
wonderful about life. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Well, I've told lots of people, that I found this wonderful person, this wonderful soul, and this is how I found her. And and I'm so forever grateful for it. I'm so forever happy with that. The same as when I've met people like you, Martin, John, as well.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell people that I met this wonderful soul by cutting the grass on my wall, with a pair of scissors. Wow. This lady Julie sounds nuts. She's cutting grass that is coming out of a wall. That's something I can't quite think about, with a pair of scissors, and she makes this connection through a little hole in the bushing, in the parameters, and she sees this lovely colour blue, and that's not what catches her. Suddenly out of her mouth comes the word hello. And I was just busy cutting grass with the scissors. Why do I want to bring any attention to the fact that I'm cutting grass with a pair of scissors? Because, it's not a normal activity, but I did it. And what I've received from that
Yeah.
is way beyond any grass growing, way beyond any track that a cat might take. Do you know what I mean? And it's just blown me away. And
Yeah.
so all I'm here to do is to
Yeah.
say, some things just blow me away.
Mm,
So yeah, thank you. I'm so glad Penny came up. As you can
yeah.
imagine, conversations we have so they're growth material for me. They're growth. I grow with
Yeah.
it.
And I also want you to recognize we've known each other for well over a year now, I
Yes,
think.
yes.
And I just want you to recognize how you have changed not only yourself, but the people that you surround yourself with, and the
And my
style
experience.
and the experience of the people that
Yeah.
you surround yourself with, right? Like it's extreme from
Yes.
from 2 years ago to today, the people that you are surrounding yourself with, and to take stock in that, and to take stock in how you're experiencing your life, and who is being drawn to you. Those are the changes that you have made, and those are the
Mm.
things that you have grown to,
Mm.
and so I just wanted to point that out and make sure that you know see that it's not us, but it's you.
Yeah. 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 That was the thing. That was like, that's just astounding. And I would definitely invite Penny to check out, the very first talks that I did, so that she can see this. It'd be nice to share that with
Oh,
everyone, really,
yeah.
because you can hear it. You
Oh,
can hear it. You
it's
can
clear as day.
definitely hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Martin John, just to say, absolutely love you. You know
Love you
this.
as well.
Take care, darling. Bye.
Yep. Bye bye. Oh, thank you all so much for joining me. This is Martin John, and you have joined me for Tao of the Day, where we look at the Tao Te Ching, and we've been reading my rendition of the Tao Te Ching, which may get published at some point. As soon as because I'll self-publish it. I don't want to jump through any hoops or anything. Like whatever, I'm just gonna do it my way, whenever I can. And so thank you so much for joining me, Julie, Lois, and Penny. You are all so beautiful. Thank you so much. And until next time, oh, well, I should do a plug. If you guys benefit and love what you're hearing here on Tao of the Day and the work that I do here on Wisdom, you can consider giving a tip over at Venmo. You can find me at MartinJohn_Garcia, that little arroble, the little at symbol, and then MartinJohn_Garcia. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, keep recovering yourself.